Welcome once more to our lecture series in Digital Marketing Pro. And we have looked at introductory aspect of Microsoft Word, how to start it. And if you've not seen those parts, you go to our YouTube channel and search through the videos. You see the videos there. Um, Today we are going to be looking at designing eye-catchy flyers and brochures using Microsoft Word. My name remains Engineer Sahon Okoro, and I'm happy to have you in this class. Um, Remember that the focus of this class is to make you a content um, creator. Content creator in the sense that you are actually advertising your own content, that skill that you have, or whatever industry you are in, how to represent these things with eye-catchy adverts. So we looked at it, CV in our last class, and we described how to design a CV that, and a resume rather, that would make your employer to call you almost immediately. And we also gave a differentiation between what a resume is and what is curriculum vitae is. And if you to know more about what you said, you can go to that video and look at it. But in this class, what we are going to be doing is to design eye-catchy flyers and brochures using Microsoft Word. And it's a practical and accessible way to create visually appealing marketing materials. And in this lecture, we will explore the step-by-step techniques for designing attractive flyers and brochures using Microsoft Word. Um, in designing an eye-catchy flyer, the very first thing we need to do is to understand your audience and the purpose for you to put down that flyer and brochure. Now, in understanding your audience, you need to know who is your target audience. Now, the reason why you need to know your target audience is because you cannot do something that is generic for everybody to look at. You are going for a specific set of persons. So in clearing and you have to clearly define the target audience, or sorry, audience and purpose of your flyer or brochure. It is so essential for creating effective and impactful marketing material. So we're going to break it down like this. The first thing is to identify your target audience, which is defining the target audience involved in identifying the specific group or people you want your flyer or brochure to reach. It's crucial to understand their characteristics, their interests, their needs, and their preferences. This will help tailor your content and design to resonate with them. And the steps you follow is first, you conduct a research. Now, your research that you're conducting now, it has to you have to conduct a market research to gather insights about your potential audience. Yeah, and those insights means their demographics, their psychographics, and their buying behavior. Now we'll talk about demographics. We are referring to their age. The age, are they between 10 and 20? Are they teenagers? Or are they young adults? Or are they elderly aged persons? Your product you should be able to know those people or the age group that is that will easily get your material or your product. Now, when we are referring to age group, the way this age group will behave towards a particular product is different from the way other age groups behave to the particular product. Another thing is the gender, the way a man will behave towards a particular product sometimes are usually different from the way a woman will behave towards it. So your research has to be able to itemize these things out. And the second is your location. Take for example alcohol. can easily be sold in the southern part of Nigeria. That if your product has alcoholic content, but that product cannot be sold in the northern part of Nigeria for religious reasons. So location also matters. Then we're also looking at psychographics, which is their interest, their behaviors, their value system. All this matters when you are designing your flyer or your brochure. Then lastly is the buying behavior. You need to know what makes them go after or what makes them buy. Some people can go into the market and what they do not plan to buy. You see them buying it. Why? Because it appealed to them. So that is what we are going to be looking at in this training. The second thing that you need to look at in analyzing your target audience is to create personas. So meaning that you have to develop a detailed fictional representation of your ideal customer. These persons will guide your content creation and design decisions. So after you have isolated who this person or who should be the the consumers of your product or skill. You have been able to know their age group, their gender, and their locations, the interests, behaviors, and values, and their buying values. You will now create like a fictional representation of your ideal customer. That is what you use in building your flyer and brochure. The purpose of the flyer or brochure is that, or rather, the second thing you need to look out for is the purpose of your flyer and your brochure. And the steps you follow in doing that is okay. Sorry, I did not clearly define what the persona is, or rather, creating the persona. Sorry about that. So let me just quickly review. I said that from what is written there, he said you develop a detailed fictional representation of your ideal customer. These personas will guide your content creation and design decisions. For example, if you are advertising a fitness class, yeah, you can use that. If you're advertising for a fitness class, your target audience might be young adults between the age of 18 and 30, those who are interested or want to concerned about the way their body looks. You understand? Those who are interested in their health and wellness. I'm not saying others aren't, but an aged person will not be thinking about fitness or how the packs are, whether it has 6 or 7 packs. You understand? Now, I'm referring to those that will live in a specific city and have an active lifestyle. Maybe if your advertisement is for fitness and general well-being, you understand? So that defines your personality. You understand? Now, looking at the purpose of your brochure, the purpose defines what you want to achieve with your marketing material. It outlines the main message you want to convey and the action you want your audience to take after viewing the flyer or the brochure. You have to you and the key steps in doing that is first you have to set clear goals. Determine whether the purpose is to inform, promote, educate, or persuade. And you also have to establish specific objectives such as the driving sales. These are your objectives, rather, increasing the brand awareness or encouraging sign-ups. So these are your clear goals you should set up. The next is that you should craft the message. Develop a concise and compelling message that aligns with your goals, highlighting the benefits or solution your product or service offers. For example, if you are creating a brochure for a travel agency, the purpose might be to promote a new vacation package and encourage readers to book their dream getaway. Why this reason? Defining the target audience and purpose means that your flyer or brochure is relevant, engaging, and impactful. It helps you to tailor the content, design, tone, and call to action to resonate with your intended audience and achieve your marketing goals. And what are the outcomes? The outcome, by clearly defining your target audience and purpose, you will create a flyer or brochure that effectively communicates your message, captures the attention of your target audience. It doesn't even end there, it motivates the desired response from your audience. So this strategic approach increases the chances of success in reaching and engaging the right people. The second thing you also need to consider is to consider the tone, style, and content that will resonate with your audience. Considering the tone and style and the content that will resonate with your audience is a crucial aspect of designing an effective flyer and brochure. Let's delve deep into each of these elements. Let's consider the tone first. The tone is for your flyer or brochure. Oh, sorry. The tone of your flyer or brochure refers to the overall mood, attitude, and emotional impact of your content. It sets the voice of your message and should align with the emotions you want to involve in your audience. So, how do you now determine this tone? First, you consider the emotion, or rather, the emotions you want your audience to feel. You want them to be excited about it. Take, for example, recently in Nigeria, the cost of petroleum increased, and it was, or it is now way beyond what people can really afford. So someone now came up with a generator that uses gas, which is cheaper to acquire. And it brought in a lot of excitement, and a lot of people are going into it. But the second is that people will not just rush into such a thing, though they are excited about it. You have to gain their trust. Trust in the sense that this is Nigeria, it should not be leading with anything that has to do with scam or ripping them of their money. So you have to gain their trust. And because you have to gain their trust, it leads to a level of curiosity from the target audience themselves. So all these, you have to consider each and every one of them. Then, secondly, you have to reflect on your target audience preferences and cultural context, meaning that what the this sect of persons would prefer may be very, very different from another set of persons, considering the fact that the first one I mentioned is your targeted audience. Maybe take, for example, um, Indomie. Indomie is something that every child used to love eating. But who buys the Indomie? It's not the child, it's the parent. So you considering the taste of it, because when the child is being fed with the Indomie, most times the mothers will want to test it if it's too if it's there's enough sauce on it and the rest. So at the end of the day, the parents were not eating it more than the children. And Indomie now decided to start bringing in different brands that suits the parents' preferences. So that's how you choose your target content, your target audience, or rather, um, you reflect on your target audience preferences and cultural context. The next is that you align the tone with your brand personality and purpose of the marketing style, or rather, the marketing material. The third actually is the style. Yeah. The second aspect is the style. After looking at the tone, the next is the style of your brochure or your flyer. The style encompasses the visual aesthetics and design choice that contributes to the overall look and feel of your flyer or brochure. It includes elements like color, typography, imagery, and layout. So, how do we now determine this style? As you can see, you choose the colors that resonate your brand and evoke the desired emotions. Each color has their own meaning. You have to go online to check for that. I don't have enough time to give us a list of them, so I just give us a very few, which I will reference very soon. And then you have to select the fonts that matches the tone and are easy to read. This is very, very important. Selecting the fonts that matches the tone and are easy to read. When you put fonts that are offensive to your audience, it puts them off. You have to select the right font, and I will give us some examples later on. And next is that you have to decide on the visual hierarchy, how different things will be arranged on your page. Now, it's not just the fonts now. You also need to look at images and diagrams, where to place them on the flyer and how to place them on the flyer. Those will be given to us very, very soon. Then lastly, you have to use images and graphics that are relevant to your message and appealing to your audience. You cannot be talking about clothing and you're putting an image of food or vehicle. Your image or diagram should go with what you are describing. That's what I'm trying to say. The next thing to look at is the content. The content of your flyer or brochure is the heart of your message. Now, when they say something does not have content, or you have to like content provider, it means that you are bringing information to the audience. It should be tailored to address the needs, interests, and pain points of your targeting audience. So you have itemized a particular thing that you want to sell out to your customers. You understand? So you have to define it clearly. Sorry, a clear and compelling content ensures that your message is effectively communicated. Most times, some people don't sell because they don't know how to communicate the um, the content that they have, or rather the material that they have, or the use and benefits of that material or skill that they have to their potential buyers. So now, how do you now determine the content? First, you have to identify the key benefits of or solutions your product or your service or your event will offer. You have to itemize those key benefits. And those key benefits should be based on the research you have made based on your target audience. The next is that you have to craft a headline that grabs attention and clearly covers the main idea. Just like this headline that we're looking at, designing eye-catchy flyers through Bronchure. A lot of business needs this. So everybody that is out there that has a product but you don't know how to send the product or advertise the product, this class is meant for them. For them to learn how to use Microsoft Word to design a flyer of their product, taking different pictures of the product, and putting the content behind each of these pictures, and printing it out and sending it to the customer. So they will not need to ask you a lot of questions. Looking at your product or looking at the content of your product, looking at the diagrams and everything. So, okay, yeah, can I have one of these? The next is that we develop a concise and impactful text that highlights the value proposition, meaning that the essence of that product, what is it coming, which gap is it coming to fill? You have to clearly highlight it. Now, and lastly, you have to include relevant details such as the date, time, location, pricing, and or contact information. Is very, very key. Um, then the next thing we also have to look at is to set up when you have done all this, you have your target audience and the purpose that you're coming with it. Then you consider the tone, the style, and the content that will resonate with your audience. The next is to set up your documents. We have already started when we were dealing with the flyer. I taught us how to open Microsoft Word and then how to create a new document by clicking on the file, the tab, and clicking on new document, or you click on any of the templates to use. We're going to be using the template, but before we use the template, I want us to know the basic things that we need to know first before we start putting things on paper. So the third step is to set the page size. Most times it's usually landscape and not portrait. You have to set those sizes so that your content or your write-up we go into each and every one of them. It's so important. And okay, uh, sorry, in opening your Microsoft Word, please also remember that the in the ribbon at the top of the window, you will see the layout. This tab contains options related to page setup. That's I'm talking about the setting page sizes. So it's actually in your layout tab. We're going to do that very soon when we are doing the brochure itself. Then in the page setup group, you will find various options, which include size. Just click on the small arrow that you see on the bottom there, and the size, and you will see the size of the group, and this will open the page setup dialog box. So with that, you can now be able to set up your page. Why I'm going through this now is because we'll do most of it when we are doing the exercise itself. So I don't want us to lose out on the focus of the class. Let's get all the content, or rather all the features out first before we start doing work on paper. And lastly, or rather, second to the last, you design your flyer or your brochure, which you are going to do last. Then you now save your work. So it's so important. Now, after doing all that, another things you have to take note of is how to lay out. Is your layout and composition. Now, for your layout and composition, always use tables, text boxes, and columns. This is not a letter that you're writing. You're actually trying to produce something that will be eye-catching to your audience. So use tables, text boxes, and columns to organize content and create a visually appealing layout. Now, for your work, establish a clear visual hierarchy by adjusting the font size, styles, and color for your headings, subheadings, and body text. Using tables and text boxes and columns is a powerful way to organize content and create visually appealing layouts in Microsoft Word. These tools allow you to structure your flyer or brochure effectively. And then we are going to look at how they are being done. But I want us to pay attention to something. I purposely put this background here to explain something to us. Now, when we're talking about um, establish a clear visual hierarchy by adjusting your font size, style, colors for heading, this is exactly it. Now, if you take note, this is the heading of what I'm talking about, which is designing eye-catchy flyer and brochure. You'll find that it is bold. Just looking at it, you already know what we're talking about. That is how your brochure should look like. Just looking at the heading, the person looking or whoever is looking at it, you already know, okay, this is what this person is talking about. Do not put them in a place, in a position whereby just like what's the name of this material that comes with every device, your manual, as if it's a manual you are going through. You don't even know where you're going to. You just know there's a start and there's an end. So you don't do it that way. Do it in such a way that when they look at the document, the first thing they see is the heading that talks about what the document is, and should be title should be clear and concise. Now, tables. Tables are ideal for organizing content into rows and columns. They are great for creating grids, lists, schedules, and other structured layouts. Inserting a table, all you just need to do is to place a cursor where you want the table to be inserted. Go to Insert tab, click on Insert, and click on Table, and the drop down window will appear. We will do all that, but what I just want us to pay attention to is that the tables, text boxes, and columns are what we use in designing the flyer or the brochure. You have to pay attention to this section when we are doing the practical aspect. The next is the text boxes. Text boxes are versatile containers for text or graphics. They can be positioned anywhere on the table and sorry on the page and then can have their own formatting. Unlike the tables that are kind of more of regimental, text boxes you can put them anywhere based on how you want them, where you want the text to appear, and you will just see the text box and outlined there. Now, lastly is the columns. The column allow you to split your page into multiple sections, which is useful for creating newsletters. Maybe for those of us that are going through this class and we want to start developing a blog post and the stories, your columns will work better for you because with that you can create newsletters, multi-column articles, and more. So, having said that, the next thing we want to consider is your typography and fonts. Your typography and fonts. Um, Back to the layout and composition before going to typography and fonts. Before going to typography and fonts, let's say you are creating a brochure for the fitness program, and then you could use tables to showcase different exercise routines. I just want to state that you could use tables to showcase different exercise routines, text boxes to highlight success, maybe your success stories, and now use colon to organize the sections about the nutrition, the workouts, and the testimonials. So by combining tables, text boxes, and columns, you can create a well-structured and visually appealing layout that effectively conveys your message in your flyer or brochure. Having said that, let's now go to the typography and fonts. Choose a readable and complementary font for heading and body text. It's so important. You choose a readable complementary font for heading. Like I said, this is a readable one, and your heading and your text, because this is my text. Then that's the two ways now. The second is that you have to limit the number of font styles to maintain consistency and enhance readability. Um, Selecting readable and complementary fonts for heading and body text is crucial for creating a visually appealing and professional looking flyer or brochure. Limiting number of font styles also helps maintain consistency and enhance readability. So let's look at how we can achieve this. The first is that we choose the font. In choosing the fonts, first, in the heading, you have to opt for bold and attention-grabbing fonts for heading, just like in this case now. Bold and attention-grabbing fonts for heading. These fonts should be clear and easy to read, even at larger sizes. The second point in the heading is that choose fonts that align with the tone of your content. For formal materials, consider serif fonts. That is the Times Roman that I was talking about the other time. This is actually Times Roman. This is actually Times Roman because it's a formal setting. You understand? Then for a modern look, you can use sans serif fonts like Arial, Helvetica. They all work well. They work well with it. You understand? Then for the body text, you select legible and comfortable fonts for body text. These fonts should be easy on the eyes and suitable for longer reading. That's the point. If the text is not suitable for reading, they get bored on time. But when you have formal fonts there, you find out that the reading will be enjoyable for whoever holds it. Then the serif fonts are often preferred rather for body text in printed materials due to their readability. So you consider Georgia, Palatino, they are serif fonts that you can use. They ensure that the font size is appropriate, typically between 10 and 12 points standard for body text because if you make it larger than that, it will make the material to be read bulky. Yeah, bulky. So the next thing that you will have to look at is limiting fonts. To maintain a cohesive and professional appearance, it's essential to limit the number of fonts in your flyer or your brochure. First is consistency. You have to stick to a maximum of 2 to 3 font styles throughout the entire document. Don't go above that. Using too many fonts can create visual clutter and confusion. What that means is that I purposely made this font different so that you can, sorry, I purposely made this font different so that we can see the difference now. It's unlike the other fonts that I was using, which is Times Roman. Now, what that means is that when someone is going through your document and sees something like this, he just as you must have done when you were reading through what the person must have paused and first of all asked, oh, these fonts are different, these ones are larger. They, while they are taking time to go through that, the logic that the person was building while reading your document collapses. At the end of the day, he's more concerned about that little font that he has taken note of. So you have to make your fonts consistent throughout your work. Then in terms of hierarchy, assign different font styles for heading, subheading, and body text. It's very, very important. So when I go through your work and see the heading, they know that, okay, this is what this document is talking about. The subheading, okay, this is what the subheading or a part of the body, or yeah, the entire body, different section of the entire body, you understand? Then why the body text too is the detailed information. So let's say you are designing a brochure for a cooking class. You could choose the following font styles for headings and body text. Body text for the heading, you can use the font and Playfair display. It's a serif font. This is for that will make your work look enticing. Therefore, the width you can make it bold, and the size should be 18 to 16 to 18. The reason is because you are actually trying to how do I put it now? Ensure that there's an attention to detail. So I don't want to mix the wrong recipe when it comes to that. So while for the body, you can decide to use maybe Arial, Arial, and 12 points font size. So with that, you will have a good style. So by thoroughly selecting fonts and limiting font styles, you create a polished and harmonious design that enhances readability and ensures that your flyer or brochure effectively communicates your message. Then after that, we have the color scheme. In color scheme, you select a color palette that aligns with your uh, branding and message. Use color strategically to highlight key elements. Yeah, excuse me. Use colors strategically to highlight key elements. Create contrasts and evoke emotions. Now, selecting a suitable color palette and using color strategically is a fundamental aspect of creating a visually appealing and impactful flyer or procedure. Now, how you can achieve this is first by choosing a color palette. In choosing a color palette, first you will consider branding alignment. Select colors that are consistent with brand's identity, which ensures that your flyer or brochure aligns with your overall branding efforts. And then same still under branding alignment, you have to consider your excuse me, you have to consider your brand's primary color and complementary shades to create a cohesive look. Then to message and emotions. You are looking at choosing a color. So for your message and emotions, think about the emotions and associations you want to evoke in your audience. So you have to different colors can convey various feelings, e.g., red for excitement, blue is for trust. So um, while green and brown is for calm, a sense of calmness and harmony. That's if you are talking about a nature focused book. You understand? Now, it's so essential because these colors and these colors, research has shown that different colors have their meanings. So you need to go online. Part of what understanding your audience and purpose, you need to go online and look at different meanings of colors, and that will be able to help you to determine um, how to present your brochure and flyer. And then the second thing is that use colors strategically. After choosing your color palette, the next thing is to use the colors strategically. One is by highlighting key elements. How do you highlight key elements? You use bold or um, vibrant colors to draw attention to important information such as heading, call to action buttons, special offers. Um, then the second step is that you have to contract contrast these elements against the background to make them stand out from prominently. So it should not blend the background that you cannot be able to tell which is which. It should be there should be a sharp contrast so that they can be able to tell, okay, this all the features of the excuse me, all the features of the thing you're trying to put up comes out properly. Second thing in use of color strategically is to create contrasts. Ensure there is sufficient contrast between text and body colors to ensure readability. If not, it will be difficult for just like assuming that this background is white. I now make these characters, the colors to be maybe yellow or even white itself. Reading the document become very, very difficult. So that's what I mean by let there be a sharp contrast. Use dark text on a light background, just as we already have now. Use dark text on a light background or light text on a dark background for optimal visibility. Then lastly, evoke emotions. Leverage color psychology to evoke specific emotions. For instance, warm colors like red and orange can create a sense of energy and urgency, while cool colors like blue and green evoke calmness and trust. Lastly, for this first class, we'll be looking at inserting images and graphics. In inserting images and graphics makes your work stand out. Meaning that before you start putting things together, you need to go and take pictures and edit them, or use a good editing application to edit them. Then you can now have a good how will I put it now? A good arsenal of pictures to place around your bronchial. So incorporating high quality images that enhance the visual appeal of your flyer or bronchial. Use shapes and icons to add in visual interest and convey information. Very, very important. Now, incorporating high quality images, shapes, and icons can greatly enhance the visual effect or visual appeal of your flyer or brochure and make it more engaging and informative. So yes, how you can effectively use this element. First, you need to look for high quality images. Now, looking for a high quality images, one is that it has to be relevant. Choose images that directly relate to your content, whether it is showcasing a product or depicting an event or conveying a concept. It must be relevant to what you are looking at. The second is that you have to be resolute. Opt for resolution images to ensure clarity and sharpness, even when printed. Meaning that you have to allow light to fall on it, even if you have to go and get a light source and shine it on the image before taking a picture of it. Please do. A poorly lit image will not be able to bring out that emotional, evoke the emotion of the person viewing it. The third thing you have to look at in getting a high quality image is the placement. Position image strategically to complement the text. Images can be used as background, just like in my previous class, you will see a background of the company logo. Then it's actually an image that was taken. So it can be used as background, section dividers, just like in this case, and or central focal points, maybe somewhere that is more central for everybody to look at. But your placement of your images should be strategic. In the captions, you have to provide captions for image to offer context and enhance understanding. So with that, we now go to shapes and icons. Um, Visual interest incorporates shapes and icons to break up text, add visual interest, and guide the reader's eye. The reason is that for you to incorporate shapes and icons, you do that to actually break up the text because people get scared reading a long text. So when you use images to put in between, narrating what they've been talking about, then an image will now appear detailing with the image itself. It's commonly said that picture speaks a lot. With the image itself, you are now bringing to the memory or the inside of the person looking at the flyer what this thing is all about. It's not just because when you are trying to read up the text, you're trying to imagine what this person is talking about. But immediately an image that relates to the text that comes in. And that's are they talking about a blender? Or are they talking about the this? You understand? Those images now gives a better explanation of it. So it's very important to use to break text to it. The second is that information conveyance. Use icons to represent concepts such as phone icons for contact information or location pin for event details. What am I trying to say? If maybe, for example, in your flyer, you are doing a call of action for them to drop their phone number, or you want to display a phone number that they can reach you with. Most times, just writing tell number, then colon, the phone number, doesn't really go well. But when you put tell number at the end, you now put a phone icon, it quickly tells that, oh, this is the company line, or this. It has its own way of communicating with those that looks at your document. Then the third is to be consistent. Consistency. Maintain a consistent style for shapes, and that's the shape itself. Icons that aligns with your overall design. Just make it consistent. When you put variation, you're causing your viewers or those that have the document to be thinking which is which. Then placement. Integrate shapes and icons near headings, subheadings, or bullet points to highlight important information. You understand? So when you are placing them, it should be near the headings, subheadings, or bullet points. Then with that now, we'll end to this section of the class. Then we'll start the next section in some minutes time. Thank you very much for being part of this class.